like Laredo, celebrates the birthday of our first president. As you know, we have 32 events in 28 days. Sitting right over here is Martha Washington. I saw her when she came in. Minidora, where are you? You're right over there. There you are. This is a tremendous moment for us as a city, but who would have imagined that in 2016, this year, we would have closed on this last day, our celebration by welcoming the 42nd President of the United States, General Washington's successor. I invite you now to join me first in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then let's all join Dana Crabtree in singing our national anthem. First, our pledge. I see no gentlemen with hats, so that's good. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Guadalajara, Guadalajara.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Student Body President Joshua Llamas and Congressman Henry Cuellar.
Wow. Thank you all so very much. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam, for that introduction. On behalf of the TAMIU Student Government Association, I would like to extend our gratitude to Congressman Henry Cuellar for making this historic event possible on our campus. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you. Texas A&M International University has forged its place in our community and in South Texas as a premier university with the affordability and resources so desperately desired by today's college students. As Laredo's first four-year institution, we have become a campus united to educate the citizens in the region, state, nation, and across the globe. As an institution of higher learning, we must understand it is our responsibility to build a world that is better than that which we entered into. Voting provides us with that opportunity to make this dream a reality. Your voice matters, your opinions matter, and the impact you continue to make on our community matters. Every person here wants to see a stronger America. As a child of a single mother, I saw firsthand the hard work she invested into making a better life for my siblings and I. Although this is unique to my upbringing, each of us likely shares a similar story, which demonstrates that dedication and perseverance can truly take you places. Sometimes, between all the hard work and sacrifice we make, we forget to plan for the future. Voting gives us this opportunity, a chance to plan ahead for ourselves and for our children. Every 4 years, we have the ability to shape this nation and exercise our constitutional right to vote. And we have to make it a point to be responsible decision makers in our great country. Today, you get to be a part of history as we welcome the first president, current and former, to Texas A&M International University. Regardless of your political affiliation, the opportunity to host the United States President is a tremendous honor for our campus. I know I speak for our students when I give thanks for the opportunity to showcase our great university on this special occasion. As you head to the polls over the coming days, remember to invite friends, family, and loved ones to go out and vote with you. Model the way and become an advocate for our city, state, and nation. Thank you to everyone that is making this a memorable day a reality. God bless the United States of America. Right now, please help me welcome our next speaker to the stage, Congressman Henry Cuellar.
Judge, thank you again so much for having us here, and President Cake and all the TAMIU family. Thank you so much for hosting us. First time we've had a president here at TAMIU. Let me just say this. I feel the enthusiasm. I feel the energy of Laredo, Texas. Let me tell you why this election is important. There's a choice to be made. There's a choice to be made. And again, it's not about the different candidates, but I have a preference about one candidate. But let me talk about just a preference. Just look at this. Why is this important? Hillary Clinton will tell you that this election is not about the candidates, but it is about you, about your future, about where we are as in America. And this is why this election is important. It's about your lives, it's about your dreams, and your future. Hillary Clinton can't do it by herself. We all have to work together. All of y'all have to work together to make sure that we keep that American bargain. And what is that American bargain? It's very simple. If you work hard, you get a good education, you provide for your family, then you ought to be able to get ahead. Very simple. And if we all do our part, then America will also move together forward. You know, today we have a president here with us. And let me tell you about, I got in the 90s, and I think the mayor, Pete Saenz, and Jesus Olivares are here, and it's always a pleasure having them here with us. Mayor, thank you again for being here with us on that. Chewy. But let me tell you about the 90s. I've always said this, that if you want to live like a Republican, you vote for a Democrat. And let me explain what I mean by this. When President Clinton was our president, we had the largest expansion of job creation in our history. Look at the numbers. When President Clinton was our president, we had a balanced budget and a surplus that we had there, and it was under President Clinton to have that. In education, you know how important education is. He supported the Pell Grant. He supported to make sure that we have a lower interest rate to make sure that your education was affordable. But let me tell you the connection between President Clinton and Hillary Clinton with Laredo. Webb County in 1991-92 was the first county to endorse President Bill Clinton. Webb County did pretty well. And look at its policies. Besides education, job creation, let me mention two that are very important to Laredo. And Mayor, you know this very well. NAFTA, trade between the U.S. and Mexico. Who has 14,000 trailers a year? Laredo does. And if you put all those trailers and line them up one by one, in 1 year, those trailers go around the world twice, and that's because of the trade agreement that President Clinton signed. The other thing that President Clinton and Hillary Clinton will also do is also the COPS program. Mayor, how many policemen and how many sheriffs does Martin Cuellar and your Chief Gardner have because of the COPS program? We were able to put policemen on the ground to make sure that they keep our city safer. And in fact, we are one of the safest cities in the country, and again, because we all work together. Finally, let me just say this. Policies are important. Who you put there is going to be very, very important. Let me explain this. If you have a policy that you want to build a wall, like some people have said, one more time, build a wall, or doesn't believe in immigrants and the richness of what immigrants provide. My mother and father are the perfect example. My mamá, mi papá nació en Guerrero, Tamaulipas, came over here to Guerrero, and he worked hard, and they worked hard, knew a few words in English, and now 8 kids that have done well. And think about it. Migrant workers born in Guerrero, Tamaulipas, they came over here, and guess what? Now one of the sons is a member of the U.S. Congress. This is the type of dreams that we ought to have for y'all. Remember what I said, policies. It's just having the right policies for the country is important. Let me give you the example. Everybody drives a car here? Most of y'all? If you want to move forward, what do? You move the car to D. If you want to go backwards, you put it in R, reverse, or Democrat, Republican, any way you want to do it. Finally, as I get to introduce our president, let me just say this. The last election, when President Clinton was here and Hillary Clinton were here in 2008, Webb County came out strong for Hillary Clinton. Over 70% of the vote came out for Hillary Clinton. Can we do it again? So, ladies and gentlemen, el amigo, el hijo de Laredo, del condado de Webb, el presidente Bill Clinton. Let's give him a good welcome to Laredo, Texas.
Hear it for the TAMIU Mariachi Band. Give them a hand. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's great to be back. This county was the first county in Texas to endorse me when I ran for president. You were wonderful to us before. I thank Congressman Henry Cuellar for his service and his support. I thank President Ray Keck for his work here. And Joshua Llamas, thank you for what you said and for what you're doing. There are many people here. I won't take a lot of time, but I want to thank Mayor Sines for being here. My longtime friend, State Representative Richard Raymond, thank you. Former Texas Land Commissioner and my lifetime friend Gary Morrow, Consul General Carolina Zaragoza of Mexico, City Council members, and all the other officials. But mostly I came here to see you. Why? Because every election is and should be about the future. Once when I was running for governor in Arkansas next door, I was at the state fair. And this guy came up to me in overalls, and I had a governor's day. Any person could come and talk to the governor. He said, are you going to run for governor again? And I said, I don't know. If I do, will you vote for me? He said, yeah, I guess so. I always have. And I said, well, I've been governor a long time. Are you tired of me? He said, no, but most people I know are. And I got this hurt look on my face. I said, don't they think I did a good job? He said, yeah, they do. But you also got a check every 2 weeks, didn't you? We hired you to do a good job. The election's about the future. So let's talk about your future. How many of you heard or read about President Obama's last State of the Union message? Raise your hand. Okay, I'll give you a minute and a half summary. Here's what he said. He said, look, I know America has challenges, but we are still by far the best positioned big country in the world to face the 21st century. Why? Because we're the youngest and most diverse big country. In an interdependent world, that counts for something. Because we have the best system of higher education in the world. Because we have the best science and technology base in the world. Because we rank first or second in the world in the capacity to generate our electricity from the sun and the wind. We can fight global warming and get richer besides and do the right thing, put millions of people to work. Because we have 14 million jobs in the last 5 years, the fastest growth rate since that other Democrat was president in the 1990s. He said, and because for the first time in our history, more than 90% of us have health insurance. It has never happened before. So I want you to look at the future with confidence and embrace change, not run away from it. Now, there are very different messages now being held out there all over the country. Why are so many people angry? Why are so many people frustrated? Because a lot of people look at that beautiful picture the president painted, and they wonder if they will have a place in that picture. Because of all the jobs, still 80% of the American people haven't had a pay raise after inflation since the crash. Because so many young Americans do have college degrees, but they have so much debt they have to live at home to make their debt payments. They're in jobs they don't really like, but they can't change them. They're afraid they'll never be able to go to a bank and borrow money to start their own business. They got a great new tech idea. Oh, here's a new app that'll make millions of dollars, but I'm sorry, I can't loan you $50,000. So here's the deal. This election, as the congressman said, is about your future. But it's really about whether we can make every American see himself or herself in the picture the president painted. Because I disagree with the candidate who said we need to make America great again. This is a great country. We need to make America whole again so you can all be part of the picture. So, I know you can say, well, of course he's for Hillary. They've been married 40 years. What do you expect? Maybe, but I also know something about what it takes to be president and make the country whole again. to be a force for peace, not war, for security through defense and diplomacy, but also making a world with more friends and fewer enemies. We are living in a world where all of you know very well the battle against global terror may be against the gang next door, but most of it's being fought in the brains of billions of people over the social media. We need somebody who can be a change maker. We don't need somebody who will build walls. We need somebody who will tear down barriers and build ladders of opportunity so we can all rise. And my case for her is very simple. Her economic plans are more likely to create more jobs and raise incomes higher in an inclusive way that leaves nobody behind. Her social plans are more likely to bring us together so we can live together instead of be afraid of one another. Her idea of political inclusion is more likely, A, to protect your fundamental constitutional rights by making sure the president appoints people to the Supreme Court who will expand voting rights, not restrict them, who will expand individual liberties, not restrict them, who does not believe that the First Amendment's right of freedom of speech means money, speech, and therefore the minimum wage worker and the billionaire are equally free to spend as much as they want on politics. That's the law today, and it ought to be changed. But her idea of political inclusion also means we have to face the fact that not all the differences in our country are economic. People do see things differently. You know that, don't you? I hope now at this university you don't always agree on everything. I hope you sit down and talk things through and listen to each other respectfully and argue. I hope you don't do what I see in the political season this year, where if you ask a question, sometimes the opponents attack you just for asking a question. If you say, well, here's a better idea, they say, oh, that's old news. Hillary has proved more than anybody running for this office by a long, long way that she could get things done that are good for you with Republicans as well as Democrats. We need that. We live in a country that is too divided. We have to go forward together. So here's my pitch. To create jobs, she proposes, first of all, to put millions of people to work doing two things: modernizing our infrastructure and making America the clean energy superpower of the 21st century. 500 million solar panels. Enough wind and solar to electrify every home in America with clean energy, controlled at home, with materials built at home in 8 years. That's a big deal. But everyone in Texas knows it's true because you're one of only 3 states in the entire country already getting more than a third of your electricity from the wind. Only 3. But when President Bush was in office, his energy department said there's enough wind blowing from the Mexican border with Texas to the North Dakota border with Canada to electrify America many times over. I never will forget when I was campaigning for Hillary when she ran for president before. I went up and down the Rio Grande to Del Rio to Eagle Pass, all the way to El Paso, standing on the back of a pickup truck in my boots, almost getting blown off the back at night because the wind blows. No windmills there. Why? Because we have not built the infrastructure to deal with the fundamental fact that in America, most places, the wind blows and the sun shines where the people are not. So we need to build the infrastructure to lift America. Think about it. We could be the first completely energy independent country in the world doing nothing but reducing the dangers of climate change and increasing the horizons of our people with good jobs and good incomes. And because you're on the border and you see all these cars and trucks cross every day, you know that we need a modern infrastructure. We need the things we can see. The roads, the bridges, the ports, the airports, but that's not all. I'll bet everybody in this room today had your heart broken when you saw what had happened to those children in Flint, Michigan, drinking that leaded poison water. But what you all need to know is, it is nowhere near the only place in America where children have elevated lead levels in their bodies. It can lead to horrible loss of function. But even among kids that look normal, if they got too much lead in their body when they're young, they may not be able to concentrate in school. They may have to drop out early. They have less control over their emotions, and they're more likely to get in trouble. All of this is proven. This is not some pie-in-the-sky deal. So what she says is, we've got to deal with the infrastructure over the ground, and we've got to deal with the infrastructure under the ground. No child in America should be at risk of lead poisoning because we will not modernize our water systems. And something else about that under the ground that every student here understands. There are too many people that have been left out of this economic resurgence. Most of them live in smaller towns and rural areas. If they had immediate access to affordable, rapid broadband, you could make them part of the global economy too. They wouldn't have to be in Laredo or New York or Long Beach, California, or Seattle, Washington to take advantage of the global economy. The internet would take them there, and they could lift themselves too. So a part of her commitment is to make sure every American has the same access that some Americans have to the internet in a positive way. We've seen the negative, let's build up the positive. Then, she wants us not to forget that the technology revolution means we can bring manufacturing back here. I don't know how many places I've been in America where I never saw it, see it in community colleges and universities with the 3D printers. The 3D printer means you can make anything, anywhere. It means things that we thought we couldn't make in America, we can make again. It means that now in manufacturing, the big cost is not labor. We can pay people really good wages. The big costs are in power, materials, and transportation. If you make it in America to sell it in America, scratch the transportation problem. If you've got good, clean power you control, scratch the power problem. The materials are what they cost anywhere. We can do this again, but we have to do it together. And the final thing is, don't forget, I saw a lot of you nodding your head when I was talking about the student debt issue. Don't forget, 2/3 of all the new jobs created in this country in the last 20 years have been in small businesses. A lot of you will work in small businesses. A lot of you will, I hope, start small businesses. A lot of you will learn in the beginning of your careers what it's like to keep a work schedule, serve well, do well, make a little company grow. It's a thrilling experience. So the last thing I want to say is she wants to make sure that there is plenty of capital available for people to get small business loans in places that have been left out and left behind. And she wants to do it by dramatically increasing the availability of loans that the Small Business Administration guarantees, and by making sure that every single bank in America knows that the rules that were imposed by the current administration on Wall Street so they can't rake Main Street again do not apply to community lending, so we don't make it too expensive to make that first small business loan in every community in the country. Now, all that will bring down barriers and erect letters of opportunity. There are people who want to build walls. Hillary wants to build ladders of opportunity and empowerment and bridges to people who will be our partners and not our enemies. It's a clear choice. But there are other barriers. You're here, you're getting rid of a big barrier. But there are too many people in America today who think they can't finish college because of the debt. Too many people who are out of college whose debts are so great that they think they'll never be able to move out of their parents' house, that they think they'll never be able to have a job they love, they just gotta have a job to pay the debt off. Everywhere I go in America, I try to stop somewhere and go in and get a cup of coffee because I am always served by a young person, and I ask them, how long have you had this job? What are you doing? I got an answer. The last person I did it to was in New York City because I was home, driving home from seeing our granddaughter, and this young woman couldn't have been nicer. She said, oh, I'm really for Hillary. She was a great senator. I hope she wins. I said, how long have you worked here? She said, on and off for 5 years. I said, what was the off? She said, oh, the off was when I was going to college. And I said, when's the on? She said, the on's when I have to come back and pay off my debt. I've been doing this for 5 years. I said, you living at home? She said, yes, my mother doesn't make enough money to help me with it, but at least I get free rent. Otherwise, I couldn't pay the debt back. Now, here's what Hillary says. If you have a college degree, it's a lifetime asset, isn't it? It's good for 50 or 60 years now. Most of you in this room, believe it or not, will live well into your 80s. A stunning number of you will live to be 100. You got a lifetime asset. If you buy a home, you get to pay for it over 20 to 30 years. Why? Because it's a lifetime asset. Hillary says it is time to lift the burden of debt off people by letting them pay off their college loans over 20 years and limiting their payment to a small fixed percentage of their income so that they can move. Furthermore, second, that everybody should be able to refinance a college loan the way you can refinance a home loan if the interest rate goes down. Today, it's the only loan you can't refinance. If we could do that today, 25 million young Americans would immediately save $2,000 on their repayment obligations. And just think about that. And her plan also says that if you decide you want to take a job you love that pays less money, well, then your loan payment would be less because you'd be limited to a percentage of your after-tax income. And if you take a public service job, if you become a teacher or a police officer or a fireman or a social worker or any of the other approved public service jobs, for every year you work, you will knock 20% off your loan obligation permanently. That's the way we can all be in the picture. That's the ladder of opportunity. Get the thing off your back. It's holding America back. For people already in college, the proposal is simple. Tuition should be free for middle class and lower income people. The lower your income, the more support you ought to have for books and supplies and other expenses. If you can pay a little, you should. There should be a work-study opportunity for everybody who needs it to earn 10 hours a week worth of income to cover the cost of college. 100% of the people should get out debt-free. And then we should lift the crushing burden of debt off the people who already have too much. So, there are other burdens. She was the first person to propose a $10 billion plan to deal with this epidemic of prescription drug and heroin abuse that is sweeping across America. Most people are victims of this because they have other problems. And it affects all of us. So she said, this is something we can do with both parties because this has been an equal opportunity killer. We need mental health. We need treatment. We also need prison reform to let people out of prison who are being held for too long. But she says if we're going to do that, we need to spend some serious money to make sure when people get out, they can go to work or go to school, not go right back to jail. So we can all go forward together. She wants to have inclusive societies. It means you got to be able to work and raise kids. We are one of only 7 countries in the world that has no paid leave law. And there are a lot of businesses that can't afford to do it if their competitors don't. But if we had a law, it would be just like the minimum wage. Everybody would be treated the same. We would get over it. We are not one of the 7 poorest countries in the world. We should say we value raising children and we value work, and the only way to do that and let all adults participate in the workforce is if we have paid leave, and if we have equal pay, and if we have access to child care. And may not be a big issue here because you're so integrated with the global economy here on your border. But we need to stop talking about sending 11 million immigrants home. We need to stop talking about throwing these dreamers out of college. If you really sent all these people home and built a wall, it would have the dual benefit of collapsing the economy and making everyone in Latin America furious. That doesn't seem to me like a really good strategy in an interdependent world when we need to grow the economy and we need more partners and fewer enemies. We got to do this together. So we need inclusive economics, inclusive societies, and inclusive politics. Everything Hillary accomplished in the White House as a United States Senator and as Secretary of State, she had both Republicans and Democrats supporting her. That's really a big deal. We have got to get rid of the political dysfunction in Washington. And they know that she can do this. So when her State Department negotiated a treaty reducing the dangers of nuclear war with Russia, 67% of the Senate had to vote for it. That's a lot of Republicans. She got them. When we got the Iran sanctions to avoid a possible military conflict in the Middle East and stop that nuclear bomb for 10 years, she had to get Russia and China to go along and had to get Republicans as well as Democrats to say she did a good job. She got it. When she was a United States Senator, she got Republicans as well as Democrats to help her guarantee health care to the veterans, guarantee that people with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress syndrome would be treated well. It was always, let's do the right thing and figure out how to do it together. That's what we need again. And we can do it. And for those of you who can be forgiven for being a little skeptical because it takes a long time to get over these financial crashes, let me remind you it's something the Congressman said. The 8 years in which I had the honor to serve, the only time in 50 years when we all grew together. And let me just describe what growing together meant. It meant, compared to trickle-down economics under President Reagan and the 2 Presidents Bush, under both Bushes, the economy income dropped for all groups. Under President Reagan, we did pretty well, but there were 40% fewer new jobs. And 95% of the people's income growth was greater when I was there. Those at the very top did a little better under him. Everybody else did a lot better when we practiced inclusive economics. When we all got in the picture, the upper middle class incomes, 25% more growth. The middle, 70% more growth. The working class, more than twice the wage growth. But I'm most proud of the fact that from 0 to 20%, the people just entering the workforce, their income growth was 30 times higher, and 100 times as many people moved from poverty in the middle class because they worked their way there. They were given an excuse. And it's the only time in my lifetime when family income rose, led by gains by Latinos and African Americans. Led by gains. The only time. Asians did well, Anglos did well, everybody did well. But because we built the economy from the bottom up, the people who were stuck on the bottom rose fastest and furthest. We can do this, but you have to elect a change maker. And all I can tell you is, she's the best change maker I ever knew. When we started going together, she came down here to South Texas to register voters when a lot of people didn't want you to register to vote, which is another reason you should vote in the primary. You owe it to the people who went before you when they didn't want you to be able to vote. When she finished law school, she went to South Carolina, where we're about to have a primary, and tried to stop young African Americans from being imprisoned when they were teenagers with adults. And eventually they did. When she came to Arkansas to be with me, she started the first legal clinic we ever had in the Arkansas Ozarks, helping low-income working people to get a fair shake in court. And ever since then, everything she has ever done, she has made better. Every person whose life she has ever touched, she has made better. She is in it because she wants all of you to be in the picture. The older people here will understand this, but there comes a time in everyone's life, if you're fortunate enough to live a good life, a long life, that you wake up one day and you said, oh my goodness, I have more yesterdays than tomorrows. And when you do, once you think about it, you're very grateful. And what you care most about is the tomorrows of people who have more tomorrows than yesterdays. That's what this whole thing is about. We can have a picture of the future where we all rise and nobody's left out of the picture. That's why she's running for president, and why I hope Texas will give her a resounding victory on primary day, March 1st. Thank you. Bless you. Thank you.
Guadalajara, 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 Guadalajara. Tienes el alma de provinciana, hueles a limpio, a rosa temprana. A verde jara fresca del río, son tus palomas, tu caserío. Guadalajara, Guadalajara, sabes a pura tierra mojada.
Ay, 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 colomitos lejanos. Ay, ojitos de agua, hermanos. Hay colomitos inolvidables, inolvidables como las tardes en que la lluvia desde la loma no nos dejaban ir a Zapopan.
Ay, 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 Guadalajara hermosa, quiero decirte una cosa. Tú que conservas agua del pozo de tus mujeres, lo más hermoso. Guadalajara, Guadalajara, tienes el alma más mexicana. Ay, 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 ay. Guadalajara. Yo soy ese viajero que va por el camino, por brechas y veredas buscando su destino, y escucho alegres trinos de ave alborera, rumor de fresca brisa de tierra morena, y escucho en las espigas dorados sus trigales, como las que se mecen muy verdes los maizales, y serpentean las bardas de piedras nevadas. El populista es igual, amantes bronceados, la Virgen del Cerrito que alivia nuestros males, nos da sus bendiciones, cuidados y bondades, donde los mexicanos le brindan su canto y todos la visitan el día de su santo. México, México, te llevo en el corazón.
Con la alegría del mariachi me brotan la inspiración.
México, México, entonces tu corazón.
¿Dónde están mis jarochos cantando con emoción? ¡Y échale!
Y échele bonito, sí señor, y que se oiga el mariachi internacional.
Piletas como espejos y tibias sus lagunas, se mece con el viento de encaje las espumas, de piedras molcajetes, volcanes nevados. El populista Seaworld, amantes postrados, me quedo en este suelo tan limpio y tan sereno, porque he encontrado cantos, caricias y consuelos. Por tantas cosas bellas me quedo en tu seno, gozando tus pregones, te canta el viajero. México, México, te llevo en el corazón.
Con la alegría del mariachi me brotan la inspiración.
México, México, de bronce tu corazón.
¿Dónde están mis jarochos cantando con emoción?
México, México, te llevo en el corazón.
Do I stay here?
Ay, qué laureles tan verdes, qué rosas tan encendidas. Si piensas abandonarme, mejor quitarme la vida. Alza los ojos al verme, si no estás comprometido. Eres mata de algodón que vives en el capullo. Ay, qué tristeza me das cuando te llenas de orgullo de ver a mi corazón enredado con el tuyo. Ay, 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 échale mariachi.
Eres rosa de Castilla, que solo en mayo se ve. Quisiera hacerte un invite, pero la verdad no sé si tienes quien te lo evite, mejor y me separaré. Por ahí va la despedida, chinita, por tus quereres. La perdición de los hombres son las benditas mujeres, y aquí se acaban cantando los versos de los laureles.
Bonito Tecalitlán con sus mujeres hermosas, bonito Tecalitlán con sus mujeres hermosas. Cuando salía a bailar el son de las mariposas, ay, qué gusto me da de acordarme de esas cosas. Ay, 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 Tecalitlán.
Por el Cerro de la Cruz el sol ya se deja ver, por el Cerro de la Cruz el sol ya se deja ver. En el agua de tu presa la luna va a florecer, con esos cañaverales muy pronto quiero volver. Ay, 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 Tecalitlán.